We are back on MorningLine, live and direct to you. Chris Johnson with us with Takacs, McGinnis Law, Elder Law. The number's open, 737-7587. Chris, as we get back into the new year, it takes a while. People are welcome to call if they'd like, but a lot of people sit back and listen. You know, the merits of hiring an attorney, we kind of talked about deciding whether you can do it, afford it, and what for. And you can do it with different prices. It's interesting how some things you can definitely do yourself. Other things, you know, you just don't know. I know there are people sometimes who apply for instance, I guess you guys don't help with this, I don't know. Do you help if they need to apply for Social Security? Do you
No, we have a good attorney we refer to, wonderful person, and that is Social Security, because that is its own unique animal.
It is, and you need to know. See, there's some people who apply for Social Security on their own, and they do it on their own, but they get rejected or whatever, and then they decide to get an attorney, and there's something they didn't think of that the attorney knew. And like with my folks, you know, trying to get Medicaid coverage for their assisted living facility, there are things, I mean, we figured out how to do it, but there are things inside pool, if you will, that I didn't realize the attorney who you referred me to, as a matter of fact, in Boise, Idaho, knew. And I wish I had contacted him 2 years sooner.
It is, I like to tell people, and it's not necessarily knowing like the secret handshake, or it's just the rules are very Byzantine. And you need a guide. You need someone to navigate you left and right through the maze. It's so frustrating. I said this just yesterday. I was giving a talk out in the community, and I tell people, I wish you didn't need me. I wish our society wasn't just so complex. But these days, it's like when I grew up, we'd fix the brakes on the car. My dad taught me all that stuff, how to change tire, change the oil, change the brakes. And now you pop the hood and you're like, I probably shouldn't be messing with this. I went to change a starter the other day, and I have the instructions. I've got the little teardown manual, and it says remove drive shaft. And I was like, yeah, I'm not removing it. And it's just, that's the level of complexity. The last time I did my taxes, I was in law school. I used to do my taxes on my own, and I did them in law school, and then I took tax class. I've never done my taxes again. I hire a pro because it's just, you need to be such an expert, and the laws change yearly, and you need that navigator. And like the Social Security, I'll give you, being a VA accredited attorney, the VA appeal rate for success is, if you have your claim denied and appeal it, 75% are typically approved on that appeal, which means 3 out of 4 are being mistakenly denied. Now, it could be a mistake that the individual just messed up on the application, but that stinks. That's frustrating for the people applying, for the claimants, because they are qualified, but they're not getting that information to the VA in the correct manner. How maddening is that?
And I've made that recommendation on the show. We've done Social Security programs here, and I just say, look, if you've tried it and it failed, there may be, and you're convinced you qualify, for SSI or something like that, and you're convinced you're qualified, then the question is, what are you missing? And an attorney can come in and say, oh, well, you didn't do this. And it can be something just like that. Look, they get millions of applications. So if something's missing, they're not going to waste time getting and walking you through it. They can't do that. Boom.
That's exactly it. And that is the part that people miss, because they get frustrated with the system.
They just don't have the resources to sit down with you at Social Security, right?
That's right. Social Security, VA,
any of them.
TINCare, all these, you need to bring it to them correct, because their volume, their throughput is very high. And if there was a defense of the big bureaucracy of it is, listen, if they are going to serve all of these people, they need to do it in an efficient manner. And so their efficient manner is, here's the application, we want it this way, one way, our way, right away. And if you get it to us like that, you can get it through. We've had VA claims approved in 5 days, which is a miracle, but it's because every I was dotted, every T was crossed. We knew every box that needed to be checked. It goes in, and for them, it's a relief. They're like, this one's easy. They put it in the out pile. But unless you know those, there are so many boxes and so many different things to check, and you make one mistake and it gets kicked back to you. And I call it being put in the spin cycle, because now it's back to you and back to them, and it is
then you may just give up.
And a lot of, too many people do that, and they should reach out to an attorney.
That fact you gave was real interesting. You know, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4
will be approved after they were denied on the first entry. So that should tell you something. Don't give. I've always said, never ever give up. Keep going through the appellate process. With regard to Social Security, I don't want to get too far afield from what your expertise is, but I know you're not a financial advisor, but when you sit down, you look at someone's estate and you determine finances, planning, and how you can set things up for the future. When someone comes to you and they're asking the idea of, all right, this is what I have resources-wise, my assets and all this. My question, should I take my Social Security retirement early, or should I wait until I get the full amount? And again, I know you're not a financial counselor, but that comes into play because they can say, look, I can take it early now, Chris. Should I do that? And what kind of considerations do you put into play for whether you do or don't?
Here it is. To me, and this is something I can comment on, I understand the numbers on this, not a certified financial planner, but this is kind of armchair personal finance 101.
Well, it may come up with some of your clients when they're looking at their full assets.
It is. And here's the thing. If you are unhealthy and when you get to that initial, hey, I can elect to take Social Security, and you're not doing well, you should elect right away. Because normally, if under normal circumstances, if you can delay it, that increased payout will be much more beneficial over time. But I think the last time I looked at it, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's between 5 and 7 years that you need to live with the late election. So once you hit, I think 5, 6, or 7 years post the late,
meaning that if you think you can live,
delayed the election, if you think you're gonna live past those 6 or 7 years, then it's gonna pay off, and it'll pay off significantly for you. But if you really don't think you're gonna make it through that, if you're starting to hurt already, and the other one, and this is the most difficult, is if you're just financially stressed. Some people don't have. It is a luxury to be able to delay that election for the increased amount. Some people just simply don't have that availability. They need the money now, and I always feel bad because I understand that financially it's not a good decision, but if they're making an informed decision and they know the pros and cons, but they say, Chris, I cannot live without it now, then I say, listen, that's your decision and you understand the pros and cons of it, but I can't fault them for that. You can't get upset for someone who's like, Chris, I don't have any other way. It's like when we spoke about reverse mortgages and you asked, had I ever recommended it? And there was one time where I didn't recommend it, but I said, you don't really have any other good options. And so just some people are stuck like that. But normally it comes down to a health issue. If you're healthy and you have the financial means to delay it, absolutely delay it because it will pay off more in the long run. And that's the wiser financial decision.
Interesting. It's so, I'm glad you brought up reverse mortgages because we talked about it last time, but I've actually had some people contact me since you were last on. They see the Tom Selleck commercial constantly, and he's, by the way, very good. You know, the way he lays it out there, it's like, well, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe. And you know, I don't have any reason to believe he's not being sincere, though you know he's being paid for that commercial. But it sure is out there being pushed hard, and I have echoed over the last, since you last been on, to 3 or 4 different people who've asked me about this, what you told me. And it's not that it's some scam or some shyster thing, but that it's only good for a very, very small percentage of persons. And if you don't mind just re-hitting that again, because the commercials constantly run. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, and there's some people that can benefit. But I want you to be clear. You do a much better of explaining it, but I've said, look, I've talked to Chris, he's been on the show, and reverse mortgages are real, they're legit, but they only really work for there's almost always going to be a better option for the vast majority of people.
That's right. The vast majority of people that we see, and it's anecdotal, but their largest asset is their home. That's the thing that we've paid over 10, 20, 30 years, and you have all this money in. You have a low tax basis because you purchased it 20 or 30 years ago, and the market is just expanding rapidly, and so you want to avoid a capital gains hit, and if the home is inherited to your heirs, they take a new basis. They can get a step up in basis, and so then when they sell it, there's no capital gains, so you have that issue as far as passing it along. You can put it into an irrevocable trust, take it outside the reach of estate recovery with TinCare. You can preserve this asset, and people will get nervous and say, well, I need the money now. If you plan early, you can find the other resources typically, and you can budget wisely, and then remember, they wouldn't be engaging in this. They're a business, and you never fault them for being a business, but this is a profitable endeavor for them. They don't make a profit by paying you more than the home is worth. They make a profit by getting value out of the home because you are compensated most likely less than what it's valued at. And so the advantage you are getting is you're getting money now. You're getting value out of your home while being allowed to stay in your home. And for some people, like I said, there's a small sliver.
That would be who?
So the person who is well, health-wise, but not well financially wise, and they don't have any other resources because there aren't a lot of programs that help that person. TennCare, the first thing you need to do is take the PAE, the pre-admission evaluation. Medically, you have to be sick enough to qualify for TennCare. Whereas if you're just not sick enough, I've had someone ask me, well, you know, what do I do if I'm not sick enough? And I said, well, we need to really look at the budget because we just need to find a way to live within the means. And for some people, that's a real struggle. You know, they've just had financial setbacks. You know, there are some people that haven't planned well, but there are other people that life just is, you know, has kind of thrown them some curveballs. People who, you always see these statistics, people who come into the job market either out of high school or out of college in the middle of a recession, the trajectory, their arc of their lifetime earnings is artificially lower just because of bad timing of when they came out. And if you have one or two of those bad timing events, you might not have the nest egg that someone else had, and some of that is not your fault. Some of that's just bad luck. And so if they don't have the fiscal resources and they want to be comfortable in their home, and that's the other thing, is your home the most important thing to you? Some people are like, no, I'll sell the home, liquidate that, and then pay for care in a facility.
Move to a condo or something.
And then they're probably going to maximize the value of the home because they're going to get paid fair market value.
So what you're saying, as opposed to maybe going for a reverse mortgage, which is where you're allowed to live in the home, and
they're kind of buying it.
They're kind of buying it, and they're giving you money as you go.
That's right.
That's if you really want to stay in your home, and I know that a lot of people maybe want that as an option. But if you realize it's too big a home and I love it, but I'm ready to go someplace smaller, you're gonna probably do better financially, especially in this market. If you put it on there and sell that sucker now and take that lump sum of cash, heck, you may not even have a mortgage on that home if you live there a long time. Use it for something else than go into a reverse mortgage.
And this is where I say, get your left hand and right hand working in concert. Get your legal counsel, get your financial advisor, get them together to get that expert analysis so we're covering all of our bases.
And that's, again, I know, and that's what you would pull in. You don't do financial advising, but that's part of the equation when you set up someone's estate.
That's right. We always want to meet with their financial advisor.
Good. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we may have a few phone calls coming in, 737-7587. If you'd like to join in the conversation, we come back, we'll talk about some other stuff, wills and power of attorney. If folks don't understand just how easy it is to get something like that in a conservatorship, which is hard to get, right?
Difficult.
Last resort. So we can get into a lot of that with our good friend Chris Johnson right after this. Stay with us. Yeah, I'm glad.